If someone told me they thought Todd Phillips' Joker Folie Deux was a masterpiece, I would earnestly hear them out, even though I completely disagree. Because thinking about this baffling movie after seeing it, there are moments where I'm like, was that kind of brilliant? And in the wake of the oddly really timely news that studios are literally letting groups of superfans dictate how creative decisions are made, I think any sort of bold or risky decision in IP adaptations like this is welcome, and that is certainly what this was. I was like disoriented walking out of the theater, just kind of shocked by the whole thing. Now, the first Joker film was supposed to be about how Arthur Fleck is really a mentally ill man who has suffered at the hands of broken institutions and a cruel society. But of course, the most notable aftermath of the film was how people idolized the Joker part of him, and the dance and the makeup and the anarchy, and everyone thought it was going to spur this violent outrage in its audience. And in this sequel, Todd Phillips seems hellbent on addressing that through Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, who is a fan of Joker, the literal interrogation of Joker and the events of the first film in his trial, and the ending that is causing like the gasp heard around the multiplex. So that's how I want to split up this discussion. Of course, let me know your thoughts on Joker Folie Deux if you've seen it, and we will be talking spoilers, so you have been warned because there are some pretty big ones in here. So Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn is where most of the musical aspect comes in, because lo and behold, after all of the it's not a musical, it's a story told with music, this is a full-blown musical. Most, if not all of the songs are covered, but it's used as a way to advance their relationship and depict this folie à deux or shared delusion. The musical element I found really disappointing from a technical standpoint. The sequences are just lifeless and not interesting, and it feels like it doesn't fully commit to having these long musical sequences and being a musical. But Lady Gaga is basically the audience insert, right? Harley Quinn is a fan of Joker. She's only experienced him through the media and the sensationalized depiction of him in a TV movie, haha. Eventually it's revealed that she actually comes from a place of privilege when she had told him that she set her parents' apartment on fire, and she grew up in the same neighborhood and her mom had her committed. But really her family is wealthy, she has a degree in psychology, and she committed herself so that she could meet him. But ultimately, as we see, her love is conditional and she only wants him as Joker and abandons him when he wants to be himself and be normal Arthur Fleck, who the world doesn't see. I think this is a good example of how the angle has potential but ultimately fails in the film itself, because Harley feels more like a means to an end or a point that Phillips is trying to make rather than a real character or person. When it's revealed that she comes from a place of privilege, it's like the most casual, underwhelming information delivery ever. There's no tension, and even when she leaves him, you have no emotional reaction to it, or at least I didn't. Then we have the trial, which I actually think is the strongest part of the film. It's where Joaquin Phoenix actually gets to have some fun doing accents and cracking jokes and just putting on a show, but also showing the struggle that Arthur is facing between this Joker that his fans or Harley Quinn want him to be and his lawyer pressuring him to sell this split personality angle, but also just being Arthur and feeling like that's enough. I really like courtroom dramas because they're inherently very psychological, and Todd Phillips really wants us to know that he cares a lot about Arthur as a mentally ill character, but again, it ultimately feels like it's all about the point and not the characters or emotions. The psychology here is very shallow, and I even found one part of it to be in very bad taste. It's where after in his trial, it's been noted that he experienced sexual abuse as a child. He's later, I can only assume because it happens off screen, raped by the prison guards because he said on TV that he made a joke about them being fat or something. And I get it, like the world is cruel and all of that, but there was really like no need to take it there, and it felt itself like a needlessly cruel thing to do after acknowledging how traumatic something like that is. It's at those points where I'm like, do you really care about Arthur, or do you just want us to? And is it about you being understood and making a point? And finally, the ending. Is it as crazy as everyone has been saying? Honestly, I genuinely think that it is. I had been seeing people react to it beforehand, and once the courtroom blew up, I was like, oh my god, Batman's about to show up. And that's obviously not what happens, but the end is where we get the most direct statement from Todd Phillips that just totally implodes the whole thing. This movie, the last movie, for better or for worse. So we see Arthur's trial end. He's been found guilty after wanting to come clean about what he did, and then the courthouse is blown up, and we see some of his Joker followers bust him out, but he gets found by the cops, ends up in jail, and he gets shanked by some young kid who quotes him back to himself from the first film. You get what you fucking deserve. So Arthur is dying on the ground, and you see the kid blurrily in the background cutting a smile into his face, a very clear reference to Heath Ledger's Joker. You want to know how I got these scars? Like, what? Some people have wondered if he intended that guy to actually be Heath Ledger's Joker. I don't think so at all. I think it was just the clearest way to show that Arthur Fleck is not the real Joker. He's just a sad, mentally ill man whose mental health crisis was co-opted by people who didn't really care about him. Again, there's something here that is so close to being something, but I don't know if Todd Phillips has the skill or the street cred to pull it off, but he just hasn't moved on and insists on saying, you all misunderstood my movie, you don't really care about Arthur, you just want this cool Joker character, so I'm gonna tear it all down and basically restate what I was saying in the first film, except now it's this metatextual thing because of the reception of Joker. And I often find it really interesting when you can tell that a director is reflecting on their past work and its impact, but here I find it more self-pitying or maybe smug than anything. My big takeaway at the end is like, we get it. All we've seen in these movies is Arthur being really sad and him getting the shit end of the stick, and we got it the first time, or at least a lot of people did, so now you've burned the bridge with everyone. I don't know if Todd Phillips ever wanted to make a Joker movie, and I think that's part of what stops a lot of this from working. Like, Joker just is this established character that people think is cool and has this iconography that obviously was going to influence how people interpreted what he made. And with the first film, I, on one hand, kind of found it annoying that the best parts of it were things that were ripped straight from Scorsese, but I also liked how he saw Taxi Driver and he saw The King of Comedy and saw a route to recontextualize how Joker came to be. But now it feels like he's unable to really take it in a new direction, and the whole thing, I hate to say it as a criticism, but it is pretty boring. I think I found it less boring than other people, but even if some of these angles are interesting, watching the film is just like not a pleasant experience. So, you know, I gave Joker Folie à Deux 1.5 out of 5 stars. I just think that almost none of this works. It seems like maybe Todd Phillips is just as happy to be done with the entire ordeal, but let me know what you guys think of Joker Folie à Deux, what you think of the first film, the direction Todd Phillips took this in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.